All right, we'll give everybody one more minute before we get started. if you check the chat, you can see the YouTube link that you can copy and paste and put on Twitter. And then there's the Facebook link to our live cast right now. And please share these links on your groups and your pages and on your personal page so we can get out the word about this amazing documentary that we just watched and the post-screening discussion that we'll have. So we'll start in just about a minute. Thank you guys for joining us.
Hi, everyone. Hi, my name is Robyn Donaldson. I'm based here in Georgia. I'm joined today with Rachel, who is one of our wonderful leaders of the Women of Color Coalition. And, we've come together with Envoys for Humanity several times. I mean, this is about the sixth time in the last maybe 6 months or so of having a watch party and screening and showing the All In documentary. So I am just so thankful that all of you took the time today to, hopefully learn some history that you didn't know about and to really understand the depth of what we're fighting for, each election cycle and how it is so important that we, continue to work together to make sure that people have access to the ballot because it's rooted in this long history of this country. And, when you know better, you do better. And when you have the information and the knowledge, then, you can share it with others and, figure out how to address some of the same issues that we've been dealing with for such a long time. So I just know it's always good after watching this, it's just to take just a few deep breaths, just taking a nice deep inhale through your nose and exhaling through your mouth. So just taking a few deep breaths and just really just releasing and letting go because it's, it's been so much trauma, in and around the history of voting rights in this country. And we're seeing it still, today in real time. And, we hold all of that memory in our body. And I love the quote at the start of the movie with James Baldwin, where he says, people are trapped in history and history is trapped in people, so, for me, it just every time I watch this movie, it's something, different I notice or something strikes me, in a different way. And just, I think this is the first time I've seen it since the insurrection. So, it's, a lot of times, when people were watching what was happening, people were saying, oh, not America, or what has happened to us and this and that. But this is right on par with the history of this country around racial violence and violence, period, in regards to voting rights, which, directly impacts our democracy. So it was, interesting, just kind of thinking about that this time around, since all the events on January 6th. But then also the events on January 5th showed us that when people mobilize and build these coalitions and come together and, get creative and really reach out to people and, talk to people about why it's so important to fight, for your right to vote. We saw, we had wonderful results with the election of Reverend Senator Raphael Warnock and then Senator John Ossoff in a runoff. And in the dead of winter, and with all the holiday season, before and after the November election. So it's like a real dichotomy and a real paradox at the same time that we see happening now. So I'm just gonna maybe just kick it over to Rachel, and she can share some of her insights, or if people want to share how they felt during the movie, and then I did want to just maybe a minute or so after that, before Scott goes on, is just to kind of mention some of the things that are happening in real time here in Georgia with the newest rounds attacks on voting rights here with our Georgia state legislature. But first, I'm going to just send it over to Rachel. And Rachel, are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you. Thank you, Robyn. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Corey, for having me this evening. Thank you to everyone that's out there. I appreciate you all taking the time out to watch this very important movie tonight. I think more than anything else, we have a lot of work still to do. And we can't unfortunately, we just can't relax. We just can't say, we're done. We no longer need to keep pushing for our neighbors to vote, to get out there and educate themselves. I don't know if you noticed in the chat, Scott shared something I think very important, which is some statistics from the Brennan Center that I think you all need to see. Because if you see these statistics and see those numbers there and see how many states that are actually enacting legislation to impede upon voting rights, you'll understand how so very important, not only is this to myself and Robyn and others here on the line, but definitely Scott and Kari are definite champions of this and have been pushing for this for a long, long time. So please take the time to look at the statistics. So when you're talking to your family and your friends and they're giving you that pushback, and it's easy because some of their arguments are like, oh, well, if I can get ID, why can't everybody else have ID? And, so many other really silly arguments that you hear people push back on. But the bottom line is it's a right. It's a given right that everyone should be able to be part of this democracy and process. So with that being said, I want to be able to, and if it's okay with Scott and Kari and Robyn, to really open this up a little more and talk to those that are on the line with us tonight. I want to hear from you. I want to hear what you're thinking, so that folks like us who are really trying to organize and do some good out there, how we can maybe hear from the trenches what we can do better to kind of help you all get the message out there and do more. So don't be shy, everyone. We're all family here. I'm not sure. Scott and Carter, are they able to unmute themselves to say something, or will we need to call on
I think I
someone?
just unmuted myself.
Oh, there you go, Mark. How
Okay.
you
Yeah.
doing?
Hi. Hi. I'm here because Robyn invited me through Facebook. I'm really glad I came. Because the movie, as Robyn said, is always really heavy. What we're talking about here is people's right to live, people's right to belong. But to answer your question, I'd say what a lot of other people are probably already thinking is that historically Democrats have been really bad at defense. And that just as a general, to myself and to everybody, just as a general sort of vibe, it's kind of like you said, it's easy to just relax and be like, oh, we averted disaster, we can just calm down, but we just can't do that because there's just so much on the line. So that's sort of the overwhelming feeling that I got from it, is like, you want to think, oh, we averted the worst, but you sort of just need to be like, no, because anyways, the thing that really stood out more than anything in that movie to me was when the World War II veteran came back from fighting in Germany and came back to the United States and essentially faced the same thing. And I think we have a tendency, especially non-minorities in the United States, to be like, oh, dictatorships are something that happen in faraway lands. They can't happen here. And I just think we really need to check ourselves and continue to stay engaged. So that's the overall thing. I think we just need to continue to stay engaged and fight like we're behind.
Thank you for that. So well said. And I so appreciate you speaking up, especially. And I'm gonna call my age out here. I'm probably the old lady in the room. So, I probably have children your age. And I'm so excited to know that the next generation, I'm always speaking up for the wonderful, our millennials and I think Zers after millennials, correct me if I'm wrong, everyone. But I'm so excited because the passion, the love, not only do you have for your planet, but for democracy, and how much you all are working together just so warms, as they say, the cockles of my heart. I know we're in good shape with our country moving forward. And Georgia, everyone's surprised at Georgia, but they shouldn't be, because if they know the demographics and the infrastructure of the state and how hard folks have been working there for years, they would have known that, it was about time. And you know what? I see Texas and I see Florida right behind them, to be frankly honest with you. And it's because of your generation and those that are coming in behind you. And I would like to think that our generation is going to be there to hold the mantle down and, to make sure we at least hold the baseline until you guys just completely take it over the finish line, which you all have definitely stepped up and helped to begin to do. So I'm so excited. Just to see you here tonight is, just very so heartwarming, and thank you.
I would like to say that I'm 56. I'm in Virginia. I grew up in Oregon, and coming out here was really different. And this last year and a half, I guess, I've been watching movies and reading books and just learning so much. And I'm just horrified to find out, things that I didn't know before about systemic racism and voter suppression. And what I have been very grateful for are the programs that have been put together by groups like Envoys for Humanity, where this year I did so many postcards, writing postcards to voters who had been purged from the voter rolls to let them know that they had, and to, tell them how to get registered, and for John Ossoff. And, I wouldn't have known how to do that. I've never really been involved politically. This is the first year that I've really, or first election cycle that I've been involved, but without groups like you who make that data available, the addresses, the language that needs to be used to be effective, I wouldn't have known where to start. I would have just been frozen and horrified and felt bad about it, but that's not going to change anything. So thank you.
No, thank you. You all have been the secret weapon. People, you hear all the analysts and they're like, well, what did the Democrats do? What was so different this time? Well, the bottom line is they allowed a platform, like you said, where there was this wonderful parallel lane that was able to get into the trenches, the grassroots, all the wonderful organizations that were out there, individuals like yourself that said, you know what, I can do my part and help out. Let me send 20 postcards out this week. Let me make 20 phone calls this week. And just think of everybody, all the people that got together and did that. How such a mountain it became, in this movable force that basically they couldn't move because we did what we needed to do and we won. But also to think about certain demographic and numbers that still increased on the other side. So we definitely have a lot of work ahead of us. This wasn't like a 70-30 split. You know what I mean? This was pretty darn close. It was like, I guess, 55-45. And that makes me nervous because it doesn't take much for it to flip the other way. So we definitely have to continue. The most important thing is to educate, to communicate, and we definitely need to talk to each other. And it's easy, no matter who you are, if you're black, white, green, or purple, as I say. It's easy for you to have your head in the sand depending on what the topic is if you don't educate yourself on it. And I know I've learned so much more, whether if we're talking about immigration or a lot of other issues with our Indigenous brothers and sisters. I have learned a lot in the last few years with this process. So that's what we all need to do. We all just need to expand our horizons. And by doing so, it automatically opens your heart and your mind up. How can it not? to be honest with you. So is there anybody else that wanted to talk? And you know, I'm sure Corey and Scott are going to give some marching orders, as they always do, and Robyn, because they always are in the thick of what's happening out there. So be ready. You know, I'm sure there's more postcards to be written. I'm sure there's some phone calls coming up for some wonderful candidates that are out there that you're all going to do your research on and vote for. So, you know, with that being said, like I said, you know, us talking heads, you don't need to hear from us. We need to hear from you. So, you know, if there's anybody else that want to speak up and say anything, come on, don't be shy. What's on your mind?
I did want
Rachel.
to, but I just wanted to kind of echo Robyn. Each time I see this documentary, something else sticks out to me. And especially as we kind of go through everything that happens on a daily basis, seems like there's just a new life lived experience when you see this documentary again. And what stood out for me this time was the talk of the Reconstruction period, which is shameful that it's not taught in history, how much was gained for especially Black men getting into places of political power, and what a different, wonderful world we could have had if that trajectory would have continued, instead of how it just got slammed. That door just got slammed shut immediately. And what really stuck out to me this time was how Reconstructed was ended with one vote. And so that just, for, I think because now we have, Democrats have all three branches, that really stuck out to me, that it was ended, all that progress that was made in the Reconstruction era was literally ended with one vote in Congress. And so it's so important for us to continue to register voters and continue to educate voters. I think it's one of the most important things that we can do, because getting elected officials in that represent us and our voices and our desires for what our country wants to be like and look like is going to depend on voters, because we can't wait for the politicians to do the right thing. We have to do it through our voices. And so yeah, I don't know why it jumped out at me that time. I kind of missed it all the 5 other times, but the Reconstruction era ended by one vote in Congress. So that's incredible. So I wanted to put that in there.
Wonderful. Well, you know what? There's so much in this documentary that, like you said, every time you watch it, there's something else key. I mean, good Lord, there's a good 10 or 20 key facts that you can pull from it. And be honest with you, go out and say, okay, this is what I'm going to focus on and try to make a difference in the world. So you definitely did an excellent job. And in my opinion, too, of the representation across the board as well, to show the different facets and different ways that your vote could be disenfranchised. I thought they did absolutely excellent job in doing that piece of it as well. To be frankly honest with you. So like I said, guys, this HR one, we're just kind of going through the bill and looking at it, and just some of the three, they have a 3-part prong to it. Just what I love was the automatic registration. Like, that's just so simple. Why are we just not automatically, when you turn 18, you should automatically be registered to vote, period. And the only reason why it should ever be taken away from you, of course, if by law, if, you know, something happens legal, you know, with you, if incarceration or that, and even so, when you come out again, automatically you should get your rights back again. So, you know, and I know that's always a difficult conversation too. Some people think it should never get taken away. I agree with that. Some folks think, you know, if you do certain things, it should be. But again, when you come out, you should automatically have it back. I don't get what the complication is. And in the end, unfortunately, we all know it's a disenfranchise. And if you look at the statistics, they know exactly what they're doing by enacting certain legislation. So with that being said, I'm getting an amen from Anna Marie over there. I see you, girlfriend. Yeah, so we all know what's up. And that's what I'm saying. It's that I always say it's the elephant in the room that we need to punch the elephant in the nose. Everybody sees the elephant, but we all keep dancing around the elephant. But now we no longer can dance around the elephant. The elephant needs to be called out for who he or she are, and we need to address it, and we all need to speak up. And like I said, I always say to my allies, my sisters, brothers and sisters that call me up, Rachel, oh my God, I'm horrified. You know, what can I do? You know what? Be a true ally. Just speak up. Speak up when I'm not around. That's the most important thing that you can do. If it's in the supermarket, the most important thing is your kitchen table. I mean, that right there is where you can make the major change. When you're sitting there talking to dad or mom or your kids or your nieces, like when things are said and done, it needs to be addressed right then and there and have the difficult conversation. And of course they push back. Of course you become the bad guy in the room and, oh, you're not cool anymore. We all get that. But in the long run, I bet you when you're not looking, they're saying, Auntie Rachel, she be getting on my nerves, always talking about this and that. But I bet you when something happens, who do they call? They call Auntie Rachel. Look, so-and-so, couldn't vote at the poll. Where did they go? You know what I mean? They know who to call. So, I'll take being, Auntie Rachel is always in their business. If it means a couple more people get the right to vote, and you get that opportunity to make sure it happens and, they get educated on the process. You know what, I think at this point, like I said, I know it's a late night for you all. So, I'm going to pass the mic back to Robyn, Kari, and Scott, which I know are going to tell you about some wonderful things that are going on in the community. But before I do, I would like to remind everyone that I am one of the leads of Women of Color Coalition. We do have a Black History Month presentation that we're doing on the 24th. So please go to our Facebook page and check us out. And I hope you all will join us for that evening. We have some wonderful guests that are going to be with us that night. With wonderful Robyn, she's helped us out. We're going to have Karen Carter Peterson. I don't know if you've heard of her, out of Louisiana. Yeah. So, and some other fabulous guests. Wait till you see these other guests that are going to be joining Karen that night. So please join us, because what we're trying to do is we're really trying to spotlight some of the wonderful candidates that are out there that don't always normally get the spotlight or the recognition that they need or deserve, to be honest with you. Whether we're talking about, election finance and reform and not getting the money to be able to get the prestige, or, just not getting that notoriety, or just not being known in the community. They're doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're trying to fundraise and they're trying to knock on doors. So we can at least do our part by getting a few of our family and friends together, and 40 people here, 50 people there. And then they tell somebody else. The next thing you know, what happened? We won Georgia, right? We won the presidency. Right? So, we can do this, ladies and gentlemen. So enough with Rachel. We're going to stop talking now. Handing it over. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I just wanted to, again, thank everybody for, just coming here and being open. And one of the best things you can do, a few things. One, in the chat are all the links to our different Facebook groups and ways to get involved. Fair Fight is a great organization to get on their email list, and they'll send out calls to action and updated information about, different voter suppression laws that are being enacted. And they're in 18 battleground states. So I know they do some work with state parties. So getting plugged in with them or your voter protection of your state party is always great. And then Scott, in a moment, he's going to talk about a little bit about the For the People Act and the information coming out of the Brennan Center. But just to give you just a very quick rundown. So here in Georgia, the Georgia GOP have a laundry list of voter suppression bills that they're trying to put forth. They want to change the vote by mail, requiring a photo ID to request the ballot and to return your ballot. So just think about if you don't have a copy machine and, and then sending in the mail a copy of your ID plus your ballot with all of your personal information there, being sent out. It's ridiculous. And they're trying to change the vote, the automatic voter registration through the Department of Motor Vehicles. They're trying to get rid of no excuse vote by mail. They want to eliminate third parties from sending vote by mail applications to people, which both sides do. Both sides have outside organizations who did that. They want to change the laws regarding poll watching. They want a state takeover of local elections. They also want to get rid of the drop boxes to drop off your ballot. They want to get rid of those or make those restrictive to like 9 to 5, which defeats the purpose of being able to drop your ballot off if you're working during the day. They also want to get rid of early vote on Sundays, which is like a direct attack on Black churches that also, that often do souls to the polls and give people rides, to the polls. And what else? And then I think they wanted to only make early voting during the week. So taking away weekends and then just keeping the hours from 9 to 5. I mean, so they're, obviously attacking the very groups that are the ones, who came out and voted. So this is going to impact the AAPI community the most here in Georgia. Black voters were 20% more likely to vote by mail than white voters in Georgia. The AAPI voters were 60% more likely to vote by mail than white voters in Georgia. And Trump received 70% of white Georgians' votes. And then let's see, 26.9% of Black voters voted by mail. And then 34.6% of AAPI voters voted by mail. And then 21% of white voters voted by mail in Georgia. So, it was fine before Black, brown, and young people and, white progressive Democrats, were joining and coming out in full force. The laws are okay before then. And so now, they're trying to change all of these things, it's just really sad that they're this desperate. And it's just really sad that they're just devoid of any real ideas or ability to just reach out to other people and to share their message, but they want to rely on this voter suppression to push them through. So there, there's been all kind of emergency calls to action. So if you are in Georgia, make sure to call your state senator and the Secretary of State's office. And again, if you get on Fair Fights list, they'll keep you posted about calls to action. The Atlanta NAACP, like they had a call to action as well. So I'm sure you'll be hearing more about this, but it's not just happening in Georgia, it's happening around the country. So I'm going to pass it over to Scott and he can kind of bring you up to speed about what we can do to counter some of this on the federal level.
Thank you, Robyn. Yeah, so I would say that, well, as far as we kind of size up the year ahead, Envoys for Humanity, we're launching into a kind of a new phase with the coming of the new year, and basically can look for us to kind of head a lot of our activities moving forward as Envoys for Democracy, as we kind of refocus and get charged up to do everything possible to take this battle mainstream, because that is what the opposition is doing. Trump started that in 2016 with the whole thing of when he lost the popular vote. I don't know why they don't really talk that much about that in the lead up of this big lie that got us up to the insurrection. But they have been paving the way for that, and loud and clear with his megaphone since 2000, let alone since 2013 with Shelby versus Holder that we learned about in Stacey's movie, as being a pivotal point for really sinking our modern Voter Rights Act so from the 60s. So as I say, we are going to just put everything we've got into that. As soon as they get through this COVID relief bill, it is our belief that that all the energy possible needs to be going towards the HR1 approval or passage, getting it signed into law. For those of you who are maybe hearing a few different names, HR1, also called For the People Act, and the John Lewis Voting Advancement Act is also kind of intertwined in there as they look at the different iterations of the legislation as they've gone through the House and the Senate, and what that will end up being called, we will see. Hopefully we will be calling it something officially in the not too distant future. But the fact of the matter is the only way we're going to get this passed is if they get rid of the filibuster. Okay, that is the tough part here. We only need, if we can get that done, and it's going to take a simple majority. Otherwise, you need 60 votes, and we're just, we all know what, we can't even get 60 votes to impeach or to convict Trump after that mess. So, the writing is on the wall there. So that's where our work is really leading right now, looking at all the different ways that we can be productive and these pivotal senators of Kirsten Sinema, Joe Manchin, Dianne Feinstein, Senator, I'm blanking out on his name, from Montana. There are probably a couple of others in there that are that need a little work, but Manchin and Sinema tend to be the lightning rod. It's a balancing act, and we're not gonna change these people's mind by being ugly to them, but we've got to be persuasive. We've got to use all the tools in the toolbox, all the pressure that we can bring to bear. It's going to have to do with lobbying the president to go after them, to lobby them directly through writing. We'll have petitions going. We're going to need to get back in the streets. We're going to need to make this a big damn deal if we're going to get anywhere with this. Because here's the thing, as we know, as the Brennan Center for Justice has put out there are 33 states with 165 restrictive bills that are already on the table in this current legislative session just this year so far. So, I mean, that is just a monumental, amount of crap that we're up against across the board. But the good news is if we can get the Voter Rights Act bill passed, that's going to supersede most all of that and just knock that out of the water. So this is doable. Now here's the other good news. When Obama was up against this in 2009 and they had 59 plus Joe Lieberman for 60 senators, they did not have as solid of a ideological Senate base there as we do now with these 50 people. So you still just need that 51 votes. And even though they had more senators back in 2009 to get rid of that filibuster, but they were further away from being able to do that then than we are now. So it is within reach. We can do this. It's just going, and there is a big movement. There are, I mean, I say a big movement. There is a lot of momentum that's starting to focus on putting these two pieces together. A, get rid of the filibuster so that we can enact and sign into law this, whatever we're going to call it. HR 1 is an easy thing to say. And that's what we hear it called a lot. So in any case, we're so glad that everybody came out tonight, and we're going to keep these things up. And if I would show this thing every day, if I could figure out a way to do it, and we might still figure that out one of these times. And if we can get enough momentum to change the model and make it a little bit, where we can, because bringing friends out to see this, I know a lot of you brought your friends out tonight. Thank you so much for coming back again and again. So many of you have been with us as we've gone through this kind of community building together, through sitting through this movie and learning more. As Kari says, we pick up new things every time. And anyway, so that's my soapbox for tonight. I'm so honored to be working with all of you here, and can't wait to take this to the next level. So thank you so much. And Kari will probably have some thoughts for us here about kind of what we have coming as Envoys up the pipe in the week ahead. And we've already heard from Rachel about the event that we're excited about on the 24th. Kari, you want to take it away there for just closing us out?
Yeah. So again, thank you everybody so much for joining us. Thank you, Robyn and Rachel, for leading our post-screening discussion. It's just always good to get takes from different people and different people that have seen it multiple times, and kind of what they're gleaning off of this movie each time. And so important what Rachel said. It starts at our own tables. It starts with our own community, having these conversations, even if they're hard for some family members or friends or in your circle, of just having conversations, and talking about the importance. Everybody, I think, can agree when you talk to people that aren't certain politicians, that everybody wants people to vote that can vote. I don't think anybody's like, no, or at least won't say it out loud, that they think that certain people shouldn't vote. And so that is something that I think you can have a common ground and a start of a conversation with of, yeah, we want everybody to vote. So let's talk about ways that we can make that happen, and really starting with your own kitchen table and your community around you. So what Envoys are doing right now, currently, our project that we're working on right now is postcarding for Karen Carter Peterson. She's running for Congress in an open seat that was vacated by a Biden administration appointment. And so she is running, and we are very excited about her. She has just a proven track record of working and fighting for working families for over a decade, I think now, within the state legislature in Louisiana. And she's backed by Stacey Abrams. And so we were like, she has to just be incredible. So she's an amazing candidate. And so we have stepped out of kind of what we don't wade into primaries. And so we decided that we were going to back her because she is such a strong, amazing candidate with the backing of Stacey Abrams. So we're writing postcards for her. If you would like to join us in that effort, it's something very easy to do. It makes an impact on the voters that reach this, because there could be voters out there, because it's an off time, the big elections are over, they might not even know that an election is happening on March 20th. So you can go to our website, and I'll include all this in the email, envoysforhumanity.org/postcarding. And you will be able to request addresses, and we'll give you a script and information on how to do it. You do have to provide your own postcards and your own stamps, and you can find those. Again, don't work for Amazon, but Amazon has the cheapest bulk cards that I found for voters, and a lot of cute ones. And then you can actually go to UPS, USPS.com, and you can order postcard stamps, which are actually cheaper. So you don't even have to go out if you don't want to start postcarding. And then from that envoysforhumanity.org/postcarding website, you can also find out our virtual events that we're hosting. And so there is a link to that. And we're excited to be hosting with Women in Color Coalition on the 24th. And then we also have an event on the 25th where we come together, write postcards, and we will have our guest speaker will be Karen Carter Peterson. And then we will have live music and live artistry for the time that we're writing postcards together. So it's just a fun virtual event, a very uplifting event. And then we're also taking action during it. So that's what we have coming up in the pipelines. And like I said, like Scott said, more to come. And so you can always reach out via our website if you have any questions at all, and I'll do a follow-up email. So that's it for me. So if Robyn or Rachel, if you have anything else to say, go ahead and pop in. Otherwise, we'll say goodnight to everybody. Well, thank you guys. Robyn, do you want to say goodbye? I saw you pop in there. No pressure.
Yeah, I was just going to say thank you and good night, and thanks for coming and doing this. It absolutely makes a difference. So please share and let people know that you saw this documentary. Send them the trailer, send them the link, invite them the next time we all do this. And that's a huge help. The word of mouth, spreading that around is a huge help.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Hey,
thank
Susan.
you guys. Yeah, you
Good
can
night,
unmute yourselves,
everyone.
say
Thank you.
goodbye.
Scott,
Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great night, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Hi, Sue.
Bye.
Thanks for staying up so late out there on the